What's up, everybody? We're live and direct here at Slab Barbecue. But I'm here with a good friend of mine, Jared Aja, the ATX Video Pro. And a lot of y'all know me as Hamid, aka Nasim, the 512 Go, and also the owner and founder of Stumpy's 512.
So
look it up on the gram. What we're going to talk about today, since I've known Jared for probably about a decade now, we're going to go in about certain topics that we both have dealt with on a daily basis in our path, our careers as entrepreneurs. And I'm going to go ahead and let Jared take over and introduce himself. What you got to say?
No, it's awesome, man. Thank you for helping me set up this talk. And
Let's make it happen, man.
It is. That's what it's all about. But again, my name is Jared Aja. I'm ATX Video Pro on Instagram and Facebook. And I have spent the past 15 years of my life mastering how to make content for brands and professionals, influencers, people that want to take their personal brand or just any brand digitally to the next level. And we all know that content is the main way to accomplish that. So doing things like this, man, I've always jumped on every opportunity possible to speak in front of camera, to talk about the things that we go through on a daily basis as entrepreneurs, visionaries, and for me and both of us, just creatives. I mean, just because you're not designing graphics doesn't mean you're not a creative.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, with the brands that you're building, the products that you're developing, like we're all in a creative process. And so I just love being able to talk about it. This is awesome.
You want to jump to the questions?
Let's jump into a question.
All right, and these are by the way, these are in no particular order. These are random questions, and we're going to give our thoughts, our answers, maybe deep dive into a few, maybe just give it a brief overview on some, and we go from there. Jared, what's the first question?
Well, let's look. Do you need money to make money or start a business?
Okay, my personal thing, or my take on it, yes and no. Do you need money to start a business? Yes. Do you personally have to have the money to start the business? No. Because you might have the idea and someone might back your idea, and therefore, there you go. That might be the plug that has the money. You might be an engineer, and they're the one that has the entrepreneurship skills to take it to the market and so on. What have you experienced?
So, there's that way of thinking about it, yes. And then there's another way to think about it is about positioning, right? I mean, that's a big thing in business of how are you going to position yourself moving forward? And we've both seen and tried getting some money, little bits of upfront money from people to do something, but then what happens? We lose our positioning as owner or, you know what I'm saying?
You might not have as much
decision
leverage.
maker. So then at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur or business owner, you have to dictate what is allowable and how much you're comfortable of giving up. The more money that you ask for or get, the less control you have.
It gets
so,
chopped.
For me, like I could have raised money to buy a bunch of video production equipment, start an agency and stuff like that, but I would not have remained the leader that I am for my brand in the businesses that I run. So that's just the contrast of it. You can get the money, but then you lose positioning. So you have to come down to ask yourself what is important for you moving forward.
And in my situation, I did what I had to do, racked up. I started Stumpy's with only $10,000. And we know in the real world, $10,000 ain't nothing. But I flipped it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I've been able to acquire, for example, the food tray was $25,000.
Which is awesome. I love driving by it. I always drive by it on Anderson Mill.
$25,000, but that money came about by selling cookies and marshmallows and whatever from the original seed investment. So basically, it paid for itself.
It took a little longer.
It took a little longer.
But you're in control.
I'm in control 100% of my business. Now, eventually someone might come along, and that's why I have my business model how I do, to make it attractive to potential investors. Because when a potential investor comes along and says, ooh, we can help take this to the next level, okay, cool, but now I have more leverage because I've got money coming in 5 or 6 different ways, and I'm not just a dessert trailer sitting on the side of the road.
That's positioning again. It's like you can wait a little bit, build some equity, build a brand, do as much as you can without startup, investment, And then by the, like how many years ago did you start Snumpy's?
3.5.
So 3 years later, now here you are in a stronger position to not need to ask for as much, or now that you have actual equity in a brand and products and sales and customers, now that it just plays more to your advantage, and you have more positioning power or negotiation power in the future. So do you need money to make money or start a business? Not necessarily, but it helps. And it can speed things up. But, at the end of the day, you need some type of money. You got to file an LLC. That's $500.
Yeah, there's all kinds of
You got to do all
trademarks
types of things. Yeah,
and
so
all kinds of...
it does take money. So, okay, boom. What's the next question?
The next question, and I actually just had a good conversation with, I was co-mentoring a session yesterday, and we had this conversation. Becoming a salesman or saleswoman. Everything
relies on this.
Sales.
We don't need no more cards. I mean, real quick, just about becoming a salesperson, I've spent, so in contrast, like I'm a creative, right? A professional creative. And I've spent my whole creative life of watching other creative people be amazing at what they do, but they don't understand how to be a salesperson or leverage that creative skill for monetary gain. And they're living way below their means. They're not enjoying life the way they should. They're stressed. And for me, a decade ago, I had to look at myself and the overall picture and say, do I want to be the very, 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 very best creative and a poor salesman? Or do I want to figure out how to balance the two? Because at the end of the day, and I, just like you, we've gone through many trials of having a business guy come on the team and help us with development or sales. And that's always presented some issues, and I've never been able to work through that. And then I'll try to bring on a creative guy, and I be the sales guy, and then there's just drama, So it's you have to figure out how to balance that journey for yourself, because you could be the greatest at what you do, and if nobody knows about it and you're not making any sales, it means nothing. I'm not the most creative person, but I'm making more money than other creatives just because of the emphasis that I'm putting on sales and being a salesperson. I'm not just reading creative stuff.
And in my situation is I deal with call centers, I deal with convenience stores, I deal with restaurants, I deal with schools, I deal with direct customers at the dessert trailer. So for example, if let's say HEB or whoever wants to sit me down and say, hey, you've got some buzz, and I pitch it to the category buyer for that specific product or whatever, I have to be a salesman to get basically for them to buy into my brand and say, man, you've done all this in 3 years or 4 years or whatever. There's a demand for your product, but I have to be able to pitch it to them to where they see it as the rest of the city might see it. Because they get hammered all the time with people. If I want to lock in a call center to go and cater to 400 or 500 people, I got to get past the admin of that call center to show her why Stumpy's is valuable in that call center for the employees. Same thing with a convenience store owner. I have to pitch to him why it's valuable for him to carry my product.
So it affects the overall success of your venture.
Everything is sales, and then eventually, check this out, there's going to be a day to where I bring on full-time salespeople to go out there and sell the product. But if I'm not a salesman myself to where I can't train them to sell properly, because I know my product more than anybody else. If I can't tell them the ins and outs, the tactics and the strategies, and hold it like this or show them this one or whatever it is,
you're going to be paying them to learn. And we don't want to do that. So how can people become a better salesman? What are some of the things you do to train yourself as a salesman?
What I recommend is, and nowadays this is a cool thing what I like about modern day. For example, you have YouTube running 24/7, 365. There's people if you know nothing about sales, someone I would highly recommend, you can look up Brian Tracy, old school. You can look up Grant Cardone.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Gary V. You can look up people like that you get little nuggets from one, you get nuggets from another one, you piece it together and apply it to whatever product or service you have, because these are guys that have built multi-$100 million businesses on the back of sales.
They may know something.
Yeah, they may know something. So, Jared, what have you learned as far as offering services to whether it's businesses or private individuals or artists or whatever it is.
Well, just real quick, another way to become a better salesman is just like he was saying, YouTube, but also books, audio books. Like you have to, like any change that ever comes in life is through habits and changing our habits and our routines, right? So if you want to be a better salesperson, you got to spend time and effort consuming that type of information.
Exactly.
There's a series of books that I've read that have just completely changed my game on being a salesperson. One of them was called Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff.
Okay.
Oh man, it was just like, it was a game-changing book because the forward to his thing was like the way you introduce this guy, Oren Klaff. He's the guy, if you want to raise $100 million from a group full of people that you've never seen or never heard about your product before, and you've only got 15 minutes, you need Oren Klaff to go close the $100 million. So anyways, it was great tactics, but information. So moving on to the, well here, let's just keep going with the cards. Being a salesman.
What's the next one?
Rejection. Rejection is real. And it happened, I don't think anybody is safe from rejection.
Nobody.
Like ever, never. No.
Celebrities get rejected. Millionaires get rejected.
You know, I think, so is it more important to like learn how to deal with the rejection, or is there a way to just never be rejected?
So,
or is that a mindset?
If you're selling a product or a service, I don't care if you have a multi-million-dollar real estate business or you're selling cookies or you're selling whatever, there's gonna be people that don't find the value in what you're offering for them.
Yeah.
Someone might try to sell me a $35,000 vehicle for $20,000. I might say, hey, that's a cool deal, but I don't got time or the money, the $20,000 to go buy that car and then go try to sell it. So I might reject that person, but it's a great freaking deal.
So it may not be the product or you.
Yeah,
rejection just happens based off of situations and timing, maybe.
There's so many variables that cause a rejection, but the reality is you have to learn how to accept rejection. I mean, imagine this. Imagine you're at the bar, you're at the club, right? And you're watching, okay? There's a guy that goes and talks to you. Guy goes to girl number one. Hey, what's up, little mama? Da 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 da. And she turns him down. What does he do? He doesn't sit there and get bummed out and drink the night away by himself. Hate to say it, but he moves on to the next girl. Yeah. And that's what you have to do with business. It's like if one potential client tells you no, you move on to the next one. You don't get hurt by it. You just keep going.
I think the remedy to rejection is self-confidence. Oh, yeah. Right? It's like if you are not confident in who you are and what you're offering and the value of that offer, well then the slightest rejection could make you think and be like, oh my God.
I'm not good enough.
It was me. Yeah, I'm not good enough. Did I approach it wrong? Is my product not right? And that's like very detrimental to the mental health of entrepreneurs and creatives as a whole, because we pour so much into that product or that service, and it's like to get any type of rejection is almost like a direct stab to the heart for you as the creator. And we just have, it's a mindset. We have to not be so attached to the product and the service, understand that it comes down to timing and situations, and it's about the number game. The more people you can put that offer in front of, the more ratio will take advantage of that opportunity.
Exactly.
So,
and just to end it, one thing I've been saying for years, and apply it to your business life, apply it to your personal life, apply it to your family life, however you need to apply it. If you can't control your emotions, you can't control your money. You've seen people, really screw him, blah, 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 blah. They get all wigged out. Yeah. And they make a bad decision based on a temporary emotion, and it could cost them a whole lot of money. It could cost them a client. It could cost them a relationship that might have been paying half the rent or all the rent or whatever it is.
I've seen stuff like that happen.
And it happened over and over. And it doesn't just happen at bottom levels. It happens at high levels where people that are trying to get a multi-million-dollar deal, something might go wrong and they go sour on that guy or woman on the other end, and that screws up the relationship. They break apart. So now
it's not even about the product or the service. It's just about you being a dickhead or unstable.
And you can lose out on relationships that were connected to money based on your not being able to control your emotions. What we got next?
That was really good. Okay, discipline is the next topic. And there's nothing else to say about discipline, but you have to have it. And what is discipline? It's like, again, like the habits and routines that you adopt into your daily life.
Yeah.
You know, I can directly correlate progression in my life, in my career, in my own business off of how much discipline I put in on a daily basis. Yeah. I mean, I've been talking to my wife all week about this, and it's like, I could not change anything. We could keep doing exactly what we're doing right now and be okay.
Yeah,
we have enough decent habits, and our thinking has gotten us to this level, right?
Yeah.
But are we really as amazing as we say we are? As I think I am?
Yeah.
I think me and my wife are just I think you're an amazing person and have so much potential. So are we really that amazing, or are we just mediocre? And that's going to show in your daily disciplines, because
True.
if you don't think you're that amazing, you won't wake up at 6:30 a.m. and try to work out or eat
or 5 or 6 a.m. or whatever it is.
It's just like discipline. So I think that discipline correlates to success hands down, because the habits and routines, it's what you spend your time on and what you develop.
And to add to that, one thing that, or not one thing, but a few things going back to discipline is, of course, when you've got your friends, hey man, let's go to the bar, man. So-and-so is going to be there, or let's go to the strip club, or hey, let's go here, let's go there. You have to say, man, you know what, so-and-so is going to be performing, or so-and-so this, or so-and-so that. You have to have the discipline to be able to say no.
Yeah.
When you have a girl that, guys, you're trying to build it, you want to build a multi-million-dollar business, but you're going to talk on the phone with a girl for 4 hours every night, falling asleep, talking on the phone with her, hearing each other breathe.
My God, that's so old. That's like
people still do that. But here's the thing, Jared, people still do that.
Yeah.
So for you to say, I'm going to talk to her every night for 3 hours until I fall asleep. Well, that's 3 hours times 5, 6, 7 days. That's
or
what, 15,
TV
20 hours?
watching, or gaming, or it could be anything. It could
anything,
be puffing up
Fortnite or
and
Call of
wasting
Duty.
3 hours, vegging out. It's like there's certain things that
Put it like
take
this.
away from discipline.
Put it like this. If you're trying to build a business, or you're trying to be a great athlete, or you're trying to be the #1 singer in Austin or the state or the country, whatever it is, do this. Write down every hour you spend on nonsense. And it could be playing Fortnite. It could be watching Power. It could be Candy Crush. It could be scrolling through Facebook endlessly. Yeah. Whatever it is, write down all those hours as you're doing it, all the hours that you spent in a week, and then stop and say, yo, that was 15 hours that I could have spent on my business or on my brand that I wasted on nonsense.
You could write the whole intro to a business plan, like in half that time.
You could go and build 15 hours worth of relationships on Instagram for your product or service. I mean, there's just so much, but discipline is
important.
Key. And once you, like Jared was saying earlier, once you make it a habit, it becomes you.
Yeah.
To where you can easily avoid those time traps of going to the bar every weekend or whatever it is. So
hanging with people that ain't productive. That's another. We should have wrote down a card for that.
No, go for it.
I think it is written down, but and we can revisit it in a minute. But just like the people that don't share that mindset,
your circle.
I feel like we absorb other people's energies. You know what I'm saying? Bad attitudes rub off.
What do they say? That you're the average of the 5 people
Absolutely.
you hang out with.
You're gonna make around the sum of the 5 people around you.
Yep.
But I believe that's very real too. But we'll go on to that in a second. Save money or invest money?
I'll let Jared.
So, save money. I'm terrible at saving money. I'm always either investing it and spending it. It's just like working capital, I feel. And I need to be a lot better at saving money. But literally, man, just full transparency, every dollar that I get is like, I use it as working capital. Like, we're going to invest into a new photo shoot or marketing plan or promo budget or gear or anything, but like, why? And I feel dually about it, because some people are like, you gotta save, and the frugalness of that and all that stuff, and that's just not me. I'm just like, we're getting it, we're investing it, we're spending it, and
exactly.
And it's allowed me to make some changes, but I can definitely see where saving money is awesome as well, and I'm working on that. So you tell me about.
So here's my scoop, and I'll go for like 2 minutes on this because this is the conversation I have with my dad all the time. You know, my father, he's Persian. Okay, and a lot of people, when they first hear the word Persian, they're like, "Oh, they got money." Well, they do have money, but there's two types. There's the ones that invest and are the business folk.
Yeah.
And there's the other ones that are the savers. Okay. My father is a saver. Okay. He never taught me how to make money, but he taught me how to save money. And I have this conversation probably every month with him. Let's imagine this.
Yeah.
If you're making $40,000 a year, right, and someone tells you, save 20% of your income, okay? If you're making $40,000, you're saving 20, you don't really got much to live on at the end of the day.
True.
That's the reality. If you're making $300,000, that's a lot different story. But you have to say, okay, saving money is great, but I need to invest my money to constantly have new money coming in.
Yeah.
Imagine, just good analogy. Imagine if someone gave you $100,000 in 1995, right? And you get $100,000, you put it in a can, you put it in a hole in the backyard or storage or wherever you put it, right?
Yeah.
You come back in 2018 and you pull out that same $100,000. In 1995, you could buy a house for $100,000.
Sure.
A nice house. Now you'll get half of the house.
Not in Austin, you ain't buying no
Exactly,
house.
or you get a half a house. You'll get the yard or whatever. But what happens is your money has depreciated, and if you look at the rate that the bank is giving you back, which is like 0.001 or 0.1% return on your investment. I'm sorry, in your savings account that the bank is giving you, the math doesn't add up because the bank will take your $100,000, even if you give it to them. They'll go loan it out to somebody for between 5 to 20% that they're making on it.
Which is a whole nother scam and
that's
topic.
That's a whole nother thing. But my thing is this: saving money, you do have to have something for a rainy day.
Sure.
If you're making let's say you're making $20 an hour at your job and you're bringing in $500, $600, $700, whatever it is, right? If you can simply just save $25 to $50 a week, put that to the side in an account.
Sure.
Don't touch it. It'll add up over a period of a year, but it goes back to discipline that you have to have to not pull it out, to go here, go there. You do have to have the discipline, but my personal take on saving money or investing money is investing money first, then you can save money, and then you can spend money. So you got to kind of do the breakdown of once you get that $500 check from your job, how much is going to go towards my side hustle business, how much is going to get saved, and then how much is going to actually get spent. Spending money should be the last priority once you get your check.
You know, I was reading this book about money and finances not too long ago. I forget the name of it, but they were talking about, it was about for personal finances, and like you should have a $1,000 cushion before you start paying off your debts, before you start doing anything. Come up with that $1,000, set it to the side, and that's your cushion.
Just in case.
Just in case. Then you can start coming up with a plan to pay off your debts, investing, and all that stuff. And I really liked that. So I'm always like, got $1,000. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying not to save too much more than that.
Always have access to at least $1,000 in this case.
Just like a quick little bam, and that makes you feel a little bit better.
Yeah. So let's see what's next. We've got motivation or inspiration.
Motivation or inspiration. I mean,
what's more important, and what are the differences in your eyes?
So they're both important. I mean, like as far as like my habits and discipline, like I listen and intake motivation and look for inspiration on a daily basis. It's so important for just me personally, for me to stay at that level, because as soon as I'm not motivated and inspired, I find myself regressing and letting negative thoughts or insecure thoughts, or, you know what I'm saying? Like losing sight of my mission, and then I find myself slowing down. So motivation, you know, I listen to those motivational YouTube videos all the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I try, and the problem though, what I see other people is that's all they listen to. It's one-dimensional. Like, I love getting the little
go get it, go hustle.
go get it. And then people are like out there going getting random shit, and they don't know what they're getting, and there's no focus or intent of, you know, discipline. So motivation is really important, but you need substance to that. So I'm a big believer of motivation, and inspiration is different, because inspiration, I think, speaks more to the personal belief or cause that you're fighting for. So like you're inspired to do something. Motivation is almost like how you feel. It's like the words that you're saying. I feel motivated. It's almost like a feeling.
Yeah.
But to be inspired, I feel is like a deeper feeling inside to like cause action.
Like longer term.
Longer term, yeah. So they're both majorly important, and I love both of them, and I try to find ways to keep that in my daily life.
Imagine if, let's say you work at Home Depot, we'll say, right? And there's 5 guys on your team in your department, right? And you have your manager come around and, come on, let's get going. You know, it's 5:55, we're about to open up at 6 a.m. and get everybody revved up and yada, 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 right? That's a motivation for you to get going and get the thing done, but that's a short term. Now, if you've got, let's say, the leader of Home Depot, the top, I don't know what they make, $125,000, $150,000 maybe, the main guy, right? Let's say that guy started as the guy pushing lumber in the park, or the cart collector, collecting carts, right? And that guy started from there, and people have seen him move around, department manager and whatever, and move up, okay? And he still has the same humbleness as when he was a cart pusher. People that see him and see his story are more inclined to be inspired for longer term because they said, if he can do it, I can do it. He's an inspiration to me. That guy has more, what do they call it? More moral authority because he started from the bottom, then he made it to the top of that specific organization or store. So where it's like, imagine someone goes to church. As soon as you get out of church on Sunday morning, oh, Jesus, oh, I'm going to be good to everybody, and I'm the best Samaritan out there, and all this and all that. And then come Friday night, you boozing and you smoking and you doing this and that. So the Sunday service was the motivation, but
you weren't truly inspired to change.
Yeah, inspiration is the longer term, and we can break it down, you know, not right now, but whether do you got the juice or do you got the sauce?
Oh, that's the debate, and there's a difference.
The juice is the Slab Barbecue over here. They've got the sauce, and juice, of course, as we know, is more of a short term. But the sauce, I mean, that's
anybody can have some juice. But only chosen ones can have the sauce.
But yeah, that's my take on it. I just in the end, I look at motivation as a short term, go, and I look at inspiration as if you have somebody that you look up to. That has been able to not just maintain their position in the market or in wherever their career, whatever it is, but you look at somebody like, yo, this dude or this girl has really inspired me.
So it's almost like motivation is a feeling that we can embody, right? Of just like feeling amped and positive about something.
Yeah,
and
like morning motivation
is almost something that causes such a deep feeling that it causes action.
Put it like this, just right now, first person that comes to mind, who motivates you in your life? And it could be anybody. When you think
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay, who inspires you?
My family.
There you go. And what's the difference in what Gary does for you as to what your family does for you?
Gary gives me the hurrah speeches, and I feel good about doing certain things, right?
Okay.
And it's just a feeling that I get, and it like, and then an encouraging belief. And then inspiration is why I wake up at 6:30 a.m. Why I stay 8, 12, 15 hours a day at
grinding
the office.
Or whatever.
Yeah, why I'm working weeknights and weekends. Like, that's inspiration because it's more of a deeper impact that I'm going to make, and there's a deeper reasoning behind what I'm doing and why I feel that way.
Which one is going to be around for you longer?
I think they're both.
No. Whether it's Gary or family, which one's going to be around for you longer?
Oh, well, obviously family.
There you go.
Yeah.
An inspiration longer term.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next one we've got
sacrifices. Yeah, you know.
I love this one.
As of this week, I'm a big believer of sacrifices, and when it comes down to time and management and daily habits and routines, you have to start thinking about what you're filling your day with, and then you have to start prioritizing and being like, you know what, I may have to sacrifice my binge watching of Netflix. I may have to binge watch my phone game, you know, Clash of Clans, and then you may have to sacrifice some other stuff. So here's 2 things that I got rid of this week. I called the cable Spectrum and I canceled my cable. My kids love cable.
Damn. I don't even have a TV, to be honest.
I love cable. My wife loves. I mean, like that's one of the bonding.
Yeah, when you
things
have a
that we
family,
do,
it's a
bro.
little bit
It's like,
different. Yeah, when you have a whole
we
family,
watch
with you, it's
movies and
different, yeah.
TV and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I feel like our mindset has gotten us to this level, but
Yeah.
we all want to go to higher levels.
Exactly.
So we're looking at like
Trim the fat.
it's not like we're doing bad things. It's not like we're not doing what we're supposed to. We're just not doing enough of it.
Yeah.
And so we canceled cable, and I also called not Spectrum, but Sirius, and I canceled my Sirius radio, which is huge for me. I love Sirius. Howard Stern, Shade 45, The All Out Show, and Rude Jude is like my life because I'm driving so much for work and stuff like that.
Just
So
back and forth, back and forth.
and you know what I'm replacing it with? I'm replacing TV with actual YouTube videos or programs or curriculums that I've invested into. I'm going back and reading books that I got 10 years ago. I'm going back and reading audiobooks that I read 6 years ago. And I'm like reinvesting into my mind because
And in your current state of your career also, and how it applies.
Because I am my career. I am the juice. I am the product and the service that is being offered to people. So if I don't work on me and in here, I'm going to be less of value anyway. So sacrifices, we're making sacrifices on a daily basis, and it's important because it comes down to priorities.
Yeah. And yesterday, I was telling Jared earlier, yesterday I had a session with somebody, and we were talking back and forth, and I had told her what I'm sacrificing. I watch no TV. I don't go to movies. I'm a single guy. I'm not chasing after girls. I don't do this. I don't do that. And she was basically telling me that, oh, I don't see how you can do that. That's just weird and blah, blah, blah. And I told her, I said, how much TV do you watch? She said she watches about 2 to 3 hours a day. And then she said, she said the normal. I said, what's the normal? Because to me, normal is 0. And she said 2 to 3 hours. And I said, look, I'm trying to build a multi-million-dollar business.
Right.
Facts. If I'm watching TV, if I'm going to the movies, if I'm talking on the phone with girls, if I'm doing this, if I'm doing that, I won't be able to build a multi-million-dollar business because as I was telling you earlier, every minute, every hour that you're on some other stuff, you're not focused on your business. And a lot of people think that they are, but they're really not.
You know, I was with somebody last night, and I was talking about this dynamic of, where my mindset has gotten us, and in order to make leaps and bounds, we have to change our habits and our mindsets. And this person wanted to justify their long process and even longer process that's going to continue to come to a place to be able to make those leaps and bounds. And I think that is the difference of belief systems right there. It's like, I believe that if I change a couple things in my routines, I'm going to be able to jump 10 steps ahead. I truly believe that. Like, it comes down to what you're doing, being more strategic with it. And other people want to justify or enable their excuses by saying, it's a long process. I've been hurt. I'm recovering. I've done certain
relationships or business.
Absolutely, and we've all been burned by both if you've attempted anything in life. And is it real to feel certain ways and to be scared and all? Absolutely, but like there comes a time to where you have to separate yourself from the emotion and the reality of certain realities, and just say, it's all. I'm either gonna sink or swim. And I'm either going to shoot for the moon or keep running out here with the chickens. And I truly believe that is a dynamic that is out there in this world. I mean, you see stories like Steve Jobs and Larry Page with Google and all these other people and Amazon. And like, they made a little different tweak in some things and explosive results. And so if it happened for them, it can happen for us. But it has to be a no bullshit type of mindset, no excuses. And it's either you do it or you don't. And like, it comes down to that.
And just real quick, sacrifices is, put it like this, assuming you're a go-getter and you're a hustler and you're a grinder and you've got this going and you've got that going, I'm gonna end it like this. You want it?
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? And what are you willing to give up to get it?
Yeah.
And if you can't have a list of 10 to 20 things that you're willing to give up or cut back on drastically, you don't want it how you say you want it.
Proof's in the pudding.
Proof is in the pudding,
Proof is in the pudding.
What we got next, Jared?
All right, guys. So the next one we're going to talk about is people that simply talk. And
all of Austin.
Yeah, all of Austin, all of it, a lot of people.
Half the 90% of the internet.
So I was going to say this. So I'm in the digital marketing space, and it's amazing how many people have info products teaching other people how to do digital marketing, yet don't have a personal brand or don't have any experience building other brands.
Yeah.
And I have found myself trying to network with people, and I get in these circles or these meetups or these incubators, and it's just so, you can talk for centuries and nothing ever gets done. So for me and my
everyone has an idea also.
Ideas are limitless, but who's going to make the ideas happen, right? So I've had to go through the process of identifying how to move forward and how to make progression. And so like I had to go through a process of just shutting up and just working. And I feel like I've done that for the past 12 years of just like, I don't network with too many people, but I'm working, I'm sacrificing, I'm building my crafts, developing my skills. And now you can look 12 years later, I'm still in the game, and a lot of people that we both know aren't anywhere in sight. Like, it was just all talk. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a habit that's too easy to pick up because it feels good, it boosts our ego. I'm gonna make $1 million business. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then it's just like,
and they haven't even made $1,000 yet.
And they're still watching TV, and they're still playing games. Like I don't even understand when people are like, "Oh, I've been on Fortnite all night." Like, what? Are you? My 5-year-old
doing the floss on Fortnite.
My 5-year-old is on Fortnite. Like, he's okay, but like I got responsibilities.
On that.
Yeah, like I got no time for that. I want to go buy a new Tesla, but like you ain't buying no Tesla off of Fortnite. So yeah, man, I just think it's real, and for us as entrepreneurs and business owners, we have to protect our time so much, and that's why we sacrifice. That's why we prioritize. That's why we have and invite discipline into our lives, because there's a lot of people out there that talk, and we don't want to fall into that trap and just fear it, because that's terrible.
Well, one thing that I like and I respect a lot, I don't think I've ever told Jared this, one thing I really respect about him is, you were what, 19, 20?
Yeah.
When I first met you?
Yeah.
This guy was 19, 20 years old. At the time, he was mainly focusing on, when you're younger, you vibe more with the younger crowd, mainly more with the urban market, before he was venturing into more corporate and such. But watching him from 19, 20 years old to now 10 years later, is he's been consistent.
Yeah.
Very consistent. I mean, he's seen me doing my things, and at the time, in certain ages I was, this was what I had going on, and this is what I had going on. But as you get older, you realize, do I really want to do that, or was I just doing it because I had nothing else to do?
Yeah.
But regardless, with Jared, he's not a talker. He's just a go, 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 go. And for what, at least 10 years that I know of, 10 years consistent in the same space. I mean, now he's giving talks, giving speeches, dealing with corporate folk. I mean, dealing with real deal people that are well-known names and establishments in the city. And I'm like, this guy's a real deal.
But
he doesn't just talk; he actually executes.
And that's just the name of the game. The only way that I'm able to command the attention and respect that I get when I walk into these corporate meetings or even offices and stuff like that is because I don't have to do no selling. My experience and my portfolio and my reputation does all of it for me.
You're like, for example, nowadays your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, depending on what you got going on, that's your online resume. And a lot of times, and you know this for a fact, we all should know it, a lot of people spend too much time trying to impress the wrong people and too little time trying to impress the right people.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to get my product into a convenience store, we'll just say, I'm trying to impress the guy that owns a convenience store. I'm not trying to impress the guy down the block that says, "Hey, what's Nassim got? Does he got on the latest?"
Owns a barber shop or
owns a barber shop,
that's not our demographic. That's not what we're going.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's not my boy or whatever. What I'm saying is, I need to impress the person that can open doors of opportunity for me.
Yeah.
And that might be the guy that owns a restaurant, a convenience store, the buyer for a certain grocery store when it gets to that point. Whatever it is, I know who I need to impress, and I need to talk the talk and walk the walk in front of them, so when they look me up and say, Stumpy's, let me look, oh damn, they're already here, they're
Stumpy's
here, they're doing
legit.
this. this is a legit business,
Yeah.
and they actually are very up to date with all the marketing and yada yada yada. I'll vouch for this guy because he's not just talking.
Yeah. And proof is in the pudding. Like,
Proof's in
so
the
many
pudding.
things come down to basic ass principles and sayings.
Yeah.
Proof is in the pudding. Seeing is believing.
Yep.
I mean, like, all those come down to the materialization of what's in our head. I say something, you know, and I read this from the book. I think it was So a Man Thinketh. But it was, if you can think it
Yeah.
and then believe it, you will achieve it. And that's such foundational advice because, and I'm a firm believer in materialization and visualization and like
Yeah.
speaking things into existence.
Manifestation and
All of that stuff. And that's where like the energies and like, if you're around negative, unproductive people, you're going to pick up that up. So protecting
Vibes
your
and the
circle
energy.
is very strong, but it all comes down to that basic stuff of thinking it, believing it, and achieving it.
Yeah.
So
this one right here might be better for Jared to elaborate more on, which is work-life balance. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm a single guy. I do have 2 kids, but they don't live with me. I'm crazy. I'll go 20 hours if I'm 22 hours a day if I need to.
yeah.
I have less obligations on a daily basis as far as kid has to do this or attend
Yeah.
to the wife or the girlfriend. So work-life balance in my situation, there is none.
Yeah.
I just do the best I can for my 2 boys. Obviously, work them into the schedule. Well, not the schedule, but you know, on a
Routine.
weekly. Yeah. Well, on a weekly, I don't want to say to work them into the routine because it's always up and down
Sure.
with me. But on
Family
a
is just family. They're just there. You know?
On a weekly basis, I attend the best I can to my kids.
Yeah.
Now, Jared has, you said married with 2
kids.
2 kids?
5-year-old son, Roman, what's up?
So this
And
might
baby
be a
Hoff.
better one for you because a lot of people watching, I'm sure they've got the wife
Sure.
or the husband at home. They might have 1, 2, 3 kids, and they're like, I can't do anything with my business because of everybody around me.
Sure. I mean, it's
So
very
how do you
real.
handle it?
Work-life balance is something that I think about every day, and it's not something like you make a decision and then you run with it for 10 years. No, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's just like an ongoing thing of checks and balances of figuring out how are they doing? Are they being supported mentally, physically? Do they have what they need? You know, like family for me is everything. Like my 2 kids and my wife, it's just like awesome to have that. You know, and I think back in my own life and I look at those around me and I know creatives that have reached high limit. They travel the world, they make top dollar doing what they do, but they have no family. They have no personal life. That's what they do.
And it might be sacrifices that they made to not
get
have
there.
all of that.
You know
to
there
do-
were sacrifices to get there because
It-
nobody gets to the top by not sacrificing. But for me, I was like, I have a big thing ever since I was young about quality of life, right? Like you can choose to be, and you have to come to a decision. Do you want to be the very, very best at one thing, or do you want to have a balance and
Yeah.
enjoy other things as
yeah.
well? And so for me, it's like I knew that there's more to life than just being a success.
Yeah, and work
And just
20
work,
hours, 15 hours, whatever
because
day.
I feel like with movies and pop culture these days, that has been too highly identified as an empty path. Not saying it's completely empty,
Yeah.
but you see the guy who has $1 billion, he's 60 years old, and he's lonely, no one to share it with, no one to care after him, and love is bought and hasn't been earned. So for me, it comes down to like a personal choice that I made a while ago to even start a family. I was like, this is something that I want, and I'm working as hard as I can to be the best videographer, agency, support for businesses and brands as I can, but damn, like I have personal needs too. Like
Yeah.
my kids' love
The
is
clothes has to be
amazing.
washed, the dishes have to be
Yeah, and that's teamwork within the family
Yep.
unit. And that comes down to some of the balance as well, because I was doing dishes yesterday.
There you go.
It's like you have to participate. Actions speak louder than words, and a lot of people have good intentions, but then they go off and just fuck around and not do that. So it's something that self-awareness, people have to decide for themselves. If you don't have that responsibility, if I didn't have my kids, I think about it all the time, I would be the hardest working, most video shootingest like person around. Like people barely have time to catch up with me
Kids
now.
do take up your time, especially when they're living with you full time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the reality. And talking
Yeah.
about kids, and in your space, years ago, I got to hear Robert Rodriguez speak at I think it was Rise Global was the facilitators, the whatever we're at, and Robert Rodriguez was talking about he was a stay-at-home dad. The kids were small at the time, and he was editing a movie. So when he was editing movies, so what he did was he put the studio in his house.
Yeah.
Okay. And the kids would be rolling around, fighting on the ground, wrestling because they were little, and he's editing a movie. So he got with was it James Cameron of Avatar?
Okay.
I think that's So James Cameron, once Rodriguez started talking to Cameron about how he does his process, just do it at home. Why are you going to drive across town to the studio
Agreed.
to do all this and that? Cameron tore down a wall in his home, brought everything to his home. All the editors, he brought them to his house, and they edited Avatar in his house.
Nice, that's
a lot
great.
of people don't know that.
That's really cool.
And hearing Robert Rodriguez talk about the real, like you say, the real deal behind the scenes family unit activities or happenings, a lot of people don't talk about that. But that's the reality.
And it's important, like my kids' success is really important. And a lot of, if you look at the studies and stuff like that, kids that don't have attention from their parents and other adults and people, period, like they're not going to develop as fast or as well as
or they'll
other kids.
find it elsewhere, and it could be negative input into their life.
You,
and
as a
influences.
parent, you gotta find ways to make it work. And so I've been very fortunate to, me and my wife, be able to work from home, create the lifestyle that we want to live. I remember working for a rock yard, man, just to jump off real quick. But
a rock yard?
I was a landscape supply yard.
Okay.
I worked for there for like 2.5 years as an assistant manager. My job was to pick up rocks for a living.
Damn.
There's pallets of 4,000 pounds of stackable rock, and landscapers would come in, they say, I want half the pallet. And I have to take 2,000 pounds and put it on this pallet and get on a forklift and a bobcat and load big semi trucks. And
God damn.
I'm too little to be doing all that, people. You know what I'm saying? Like, my body was getting abused.
Getting tore up on the
tore
floor.
up, man. I felt 40 at 20 something.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the first exposure I had to hard work. And I feel like the exposures that I had to hard work have made me and allowed me to have the work ethic that I have. So you're Persian. My heritage is from Mexico.
Yeah.
My grandpa was an illegal immigrant, came in, married, brought my my parents in, or my dad into here, and then he was like first generation American, man.
Yeah.
And so the immigrant story, the hard work and hustling. My grandpa worked until he died. Literally, the day he died he was working.
That's how my dad
And
was.
it's
He's
just-
65, still going.
I cherish that instillment of work, produce, you know what I'm saying, from that heritage more than anything, man. I
And
really
he gave you the
appreciate
inspiration to be the hard worker.
absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The things in that stage and the
Yeah.
people in my life helped me be who I am today.
Yeah.
So that's why I know it's important for my kids, work-life balance.
There we go. Now we got two left, and one leads into the other, but I love this one. It's favorite books. I personally dropped out of high school because I didn't see the value of high school.
I dropped out of high school in my junior year as well.
Not five.
Dropouts!
But here's the thing. What I always tell, because I have a 20-year-old son and an 8-year-old son, regardless if you drop out of high school or you drop out of college, or drop out of middle school, maybe for some of y'all,
Better keep your ass in middle school.
you have to keep educating yourself with something.
Yes.
If you want to be a video guy, if you want to be a marketing guy, if you want to be a seamstress, if you want to be a restaurant owner, you have to keep educating yourself with something. So when it comes down to books, and once again, I personally don't like to read, but I love audiobooks. Just a few of my favorites because they pertain more to business: Blue Ocean Strategy, Scaling Up, the E-Myth Revisited. Those are just three that are, to me, are especially the E-Myth Revisited and Blue Ocean Strategy.
Let me go down some of the books I got in my Audible.
Oh, there we
right now.
go.
So, like, I got one called Positioning, and it's all about positioning your brand in the mind of the consumer.
Yeah.
Amazing book, especially for anyone in marketing. Positioning, it's by, what's his name? Al Rise and Jack Trout. Another book, real quick, as I just got done finishing last week, is a book called Influencer by a lady named Brittany Hennessy.
Okay.
Amazing book. I thought I knew a lot about the influencer business model and
Yeah.
all that stuff. After reading this book, bro,
You're like,
I didn't know
"What?"
nothing. So it opened my mind to a whole new industry or spectrum of
Yeah.
influencers or a revenue stream
Yeah.
that I wasn't fully up to date on. And it was a great book. Anyone trying to be an influencer or monetize your personal or digital brand, influencer. I got one in here, exactly what to say, the magic words of influence. Another great book is Getting to Yes, The Art of
Yeah.
Negotiating.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a salesperson,
Don't come out in the 80s, by the way? Because I think...
Getting to Yes, maybe.
I
I'm just
think
looking
I've
at the
heard of that
titles.
book right there. Yeah, yeah.
Another one I have is Fanatical Prospecting. Dude, if you're not out there prospecting, putting it out there, you're not going to have nothing coming back. And that's, again, with the salesperson. Ask Gary Vee, the book.
I think I read that one, yeah.
The Total Money Makeover. That's the one where they had the $1,000 buffer, and then you start moving. That was
and
good.
there's, I think, there's like the 4-Hour Work Week.
Yeah.
There's one called The Millionaire Next Door.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's basically telling you to be a penny pincher your whole life. You're going to have $1 million. But just in the end, Jared knows you need to find books that can teach you how to create revenue streams to keep money coming in.
Yeah.
Not how to... Saving money will not make you money. Let me emphasize. You can save your way to success. You can save your way to have money for a rainy day, but like I just... Before we get out of this one, like I tell my father that's 65 years old, you could have $1 million stashed, we'll just say, but guess what happens when you become 65 and have $1 million bucks? Your kids need something, the grandkids need something, someone's getting married, somebody went through something. So you start chipping away at this big mound of money that you have, and you're like, wait a second, I haven't figured out how to put money back in.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling but not putting in.
I got this story real quick, and it's a story about how somebody gave me a book, and it was a spark and one of the beginning seeds of me really transforming my life. So I lived up in North Austin, and I was working out in Lakeway.
Okay.
And so there was this guy, he started this company, and it had something to do with like extension cords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This guy back in the 80s or 90s, he sold a debt collection company for like 300 plus million. Just buku money.
That's in the 80s. That's probably almost $1 billion company now.
So he invested like 50 million into this startup in Lakeway. So I was working there, and it was amazing. We were just doing some basic product testing and engineering type stuff. And he was an older man, and there was about 3 or 4 of people my age, early 20s, that were working for him. And he started doing something that like is never repayable. But here's a guy over worth $300 million. He would always talk to us about success and stuff like that. And suddenly he started doing this. Once a week we would watch these old school Earl Nightingale videos.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, old school, black and white.
And Earl Nightingale talks like, what, 50s, 40s
like,
or 60s, whatever
yes,
he's
one
from?
of the leading people back in the day, starting the principles of success and the whole...
Before Zig Ziglar and
all that.
Brian
So,
Tracy and all these guys.
This guy, worth $300 million, took time out to sit a couple young people in a room to watch Earl Nightingale talk to us about success, money, leadership, stuff like that. And then he gave us this little white book. And on the name of it was So a Man Thinketh.
Huh.
And I forget the name of the author. It's not Napoleon Hill. It may be Napoleon Hill, but I think it's somebody else. That book right there, bro, changed my life and the perspective of me moving forward. I was in my very early 20s. I had just gotten done while still dealing and like on probation for a felony drug case. And I was not making the best decisions. I was working for somebody. I was not shooting videos at the time. I had taken like a year and a half off because I was unmotivated. I didn't have discipline.
Fell into a little slump.
Fell to a slump. And I found myself pulling extension cords. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what the hell am I doing with my life?
What the hell am I doing? So, thank you, Jim Tracy, for doing that. That was amazing.
That's cool.
I see him around town sometimes, and I always say, "Hey, how you doing?" I think he's so old he doesn't remember me, but
inspiration.
Inspiration. That
Find
was
someone
true
that can inspire you, not just motivate you to. Instead of carrying 2 extension cords, carrying 10. That's just motivation, but. the man inspired him for a lifetime that
Yes.
he'll never forget from 10 years, 5
Yeah.
years, whatever ago it was. That's really cool.
And that's a way a book helped change my life.
That's really cool. So what's the last one that we got?
So the last one is college. I personally did not go to college. Did you go to college? Yeah.
Heck no, brother.
You know, before we get in there, I have a friend of mine that just left for college a couple weeks ago. And he's like 23. He went to Canada to go to film school.
Yeah.
He's an amazing creative. And I was just like, I was telling him, like, bro, you would go to college for 3 years and lose the ability to make the type of projects that you're making right now, which ultimately is what people base decisions off of, your portfolio.
Yeah.
And this dude was making, I mean, like, I make cool stuff.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
dude was making cool
Badass
shit, man.
stuff.
I'm telling you. So that was just an interesting dynamic, and I had a lot of talks with him about why he's making that decision, what he's sacrificing to go to a traditional college. And it was very interesting to hear his thoughts. For him, he's going for the experience,
Yeah.
making the most of his quality of life. And so as long as that's the intention, you know what you're going for and you want to get something specific out of it, well then you do that for you and don't let nobody turn you away from what you know is right,
Yeah.
right? Like if that's your path, then do it and commit to it. But for people like us, more entrepreneurial, out of the box
You don't need
ideas.
college.
Yeah, I mean, college to me was going to teach formalities and older ways of doing things. With technology just like ramping up the speed of how everything is done these days, it's better to just get in there, get your hands dirty, fail forward,
Yeah.
and then for yourself know like, okay, don't do that shit. I need to do more of this,
Yeah.
and stay away from that, and never do this again.
Yep.
It's not that I know what to do, it's what I know what not to do. On video sets and in business and pitches, you know, like there's a million ways to do things right, and there's definitely very clear ways of things to do wrong. You know, it's like as long as you learn the wrong things, stay away from those, you'll be in a better position. But yeah, I personally did not go to college.
I didn't go to college either. Me personally, if you're going to be, you know, like a doctor or an attorney, something that requires a certain certification, then I highly recommend it. But I look at college, and I heard it, what was it, probably 5-10 years ago. I think it was Seth Godin had said, traditional schooling is an educational industrial complex. And he really broke it down, and I was like, damn, that's actually kind of true. So about a year and a half ago, I don't know if I told you this yet, Cypress Creek, and I tried to say this on 88.7 when I was doing an interview on the radio, but the host kind of cut me off because she didn't want it to put somebody on blast. And I'm like, yo, this is a real deal. So let me tell y'all a real deal story. I'm sitting in the Cypress Creek ACC with a professor of marketing, okay? I got not an interview, but a sit down with her. We're talking about Snapchat, we're talking about Instagram, we're talking about Facebook marketing, yada, yada. She says, and how I use modern day marketing to get my message and my whatever it is campaigns across. I used to do media buying. Jared, you might remember, I'm not really sure. Go shoot a commercial, whatever, and know, I can make 15% by hooking up with Time Warner Cable or a Grande or whoever it was. Oh, cool. What times have changed? So anyways, I'm sitting with this professor at ACC of marketing. She hears what I got to say about using all these new the current platforms. Let me put you in touch with the chairwoman of marketing, which also is above a few other courses at ACC. Well-respected woman, well-known woman, whatever. Anyways, I email her, whatever, yada, yada. She responds back to me, and it was in regards of me going and talking to the kids, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever, about how to use Instagram, why it's so important, or this. This is about a year and a half ago. And I get a response email that says, our professors work very hard. In a nutshell, the professors work very hard. They prepare curriculums. They don't bring in guest speakers. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, the professor herself was telling me how the curriculum sucks. The woman teaching marketing is telling me how the marketing curriculum sucks. So those kids that are in the, because my son, now he's 20, but at the time, I think he might have been 18, 19, whatever at the time, he was going to that school. And I was like, wait a second. So if my kid is taking marketing courses from a marketing professor that doesn't even believe in the curriculum, why are me or him wasting our money to put him through marketing, because he's going to come out and become the brand manager or the digital campaign manager, whatever, for some big company, and he's going to be on outdated information about radio and television ads when they're not teaching that in the school that they're teaching the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Every 6 months, every day something can change. I mean, Instagram can come up with Instagram stories, which was a ripoff of Snapchat, by the way. And if you're not learning that as soon as it happens,
you're out of date.
You're out of date.
Period.
I mean, Instagram does Instagram TV now, IGTV, I think they call it.
Instagram just released that you can now buy products through the stories. That was amazing.
Do you think
Are you not selling retail and shit? Like,
do you think ACC or UT is teaching that this week? Nope.
They'll teach it next year, maybe the year after.
Yeah, so when it comes down to college, we can go into debates about the money you put versus the investment, and you're 35 years old, still paying off your college debt, yada, yada, yada. But my personal take is, unless it's something that you need a specific certificate, law certificate, medical, whatever, you don't need to go to college. It's a waste of money. A lot of parents just want their kids to go to college so they can either have bragging rights, or they can say, my son went to college and got a degree, and we could go on, but
it's false security for a lot of the parents.
They think it's job security in a world where jobs are getting transferred off to robots anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole nother discussion.
That's a whole nother. I watched that Elon Musk interview with Joe Rogan.
Oh, it's pretty cool, right?
And they started going into like AI and the simulations. It was just like next level.
It's a whole nother story.
So yeah, like real quick, my personal story about college, and then we'll wrap this up, is I dropped out of high school in my junior year, and right after that, I knew that school wasn't for me. Yeah. I wasn't learning. It wasn't for me.
I went to school to break dance.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I was breaking in high school.
So I dropped. My parents allowed me to drop out. Right away, I enrolled into something called Media Tech Institute, and I got an audio engineering degree. And so I did the whole music thing for a while, and I was just, again, testing the waters for what I wanted to do. I was really on a self-exploration process because I knew that I wasn't going to be a lawyer or a
You're young
teacher.
And you're curious.
Yeah, and I had skills that necessarily didn't fit into the modern day education system.
Yeah.
And my growing up in an entrepreneurial family, my parents identified that and they wanted to set me up for success. So that was amazing. Thank you guys. And from there, did the music thing. Wasn't as much money in that as I wanted. I started shooting music videos for all of my music friends.
Yeah.
Wasn't as much money in that, and then I went into corporate and TV, and like it's an ongoing evolution. Life is an ongoing evolution.
Constantly learning, constantly evolving.
And no, you don't go somewhere for a couple years, learn everything you need to know, and then
you're good for the next 60 years of your life.
Life is an ongoing educational process to become the best version of yourself possible, right? And I think that's ultimately what everyone's looking for, is like, schooling is one way to better yourself and become the best version of yourself, but also you have to go on a personal process of feeding what is hungry inside of you. And for me, that was entrepreneurial, that was creative, that was business and sales and human dynamics and negotiations. Like, that was the stuff. And so I've spent the past 15 years feeding that. Now I'm a monster with, in my space with those strengths.
Second nature to you.
It's second nature. So education, man, identify what's important to you and feed that.
And what you want to do. So just to wrap it up, I hope that, because me and Jared both hope that some of this has helped you specifically. Somebody please share it with them. Just whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Tidbit, just pass it on to somebody. And if you need anything, I'm at the 512 Go, the personal page, Stumpy's 512. He is.
And then at ATX Video Pro, Instagram and Facebook. And I'm Jared Aja, guys. Thanks for watching, and hope you got some value.
I'll let you boy.